Everybody, this is going to be my first video in a series of videos for the Bard class. This is specifically for just so people have a good idea of what the Bard class is, and if they don't have their own time to figure a lot of this stuff out that I've spent time figuring out just through kind of trial and error, then this could just help you be able to understand the class better and just how to optimize and fulfill just like the best possible way to play the class. Obviously, things are going to change. There's going to be nerfs, there's going to be buffs, there's going to be a lot of things that could change. And as of now, from the latest patches as of September 2nd, 2023, this is the most recent data on a lot of the spellcasting speeds and different variants of things you can choose as the Bard class and what it does and what's important about it. So in this video specifically, the starting video, I'm going to go just a general class overview. I'm going to go over strengths and I'm going to go over weaknesses and just the general role that the Bard itself plays. First, we'll go over strengths. The Bard is extremely versatile. They have, they can use crossbows, hand crossbows, so that's good for ranged. And they can do a significant amount of damage, which is really good, especially have good aim. They have access to daggers. They have access to the rapier, the falchion, and the arming sword, which are like 3 pretty significant swords. They have access to a lot of the different, like everyone, a lot of different armor pieces. But so it's good. You can find good loot. You can find because there's a lot of things that the Bard can have as in addition to its own specific gear that no other class can have. There's a lot of, similar to the Cleric and the Wizard and the Warlock, there's like, well, I guess not really the Warlock because there's only Hellfire and we know how easy that is to dodge, but there's a lot of different spells that they can have, and it's really good that they have AoE damage spells. They have spells that buff, spells that debuff. They have ones that just buff specifically themselves, which is awesome for solo. They have, there's a lot of versatility to this class, which is really cool. And there's so many different ways to play it. Most of the perks of the class are revolving around multiple different aspects that you could toy around with and just even just have a lot of fun with the class. And that's another strength I'll say. It's a really fun class to play. It's difficult, but once you get the hang of managing a lot of situations, it's really rewarding and really fun. So that's what I'll get into the weaknesses. You have low HP, right? So you die pretty quickly. You have a low base speed, like let's take the ranger or the rogue for example. They have a pretty high starting out. The rogue with base gear is 306 movement speed, and the bard is 288, and so that's a really significant difference. So that means because you have low HP, you're gonna have to be good at weaving in between the attacks of different players and enemies and AI, and weaving your attacks in between those to finish the fight, and knowing when to cast your spells. And so at least my next weakness is you're managing a lot. You are managing all the buffs from your team if you're playing trios or duos now, and for yourself if you're playing solos. Like that itself is a lot. Is like managing that, and then on top of that, just like everyone else, you're still managing all the other hard things of the dungeon. Is AI, other players, the Dark Swarm, like so many things that you're managing, and then on top of that, you're throwing in a lot of times you can't even fully pay attention to the screen because you have to play that mini game of trying to get those spells. And so if you're not aware, the Bard, the way they cast spells is you play a song, and as the song plays, you have to hit specific notes in a certain order, and once you hit a successful amount, you cast the spell successfully. And so that also means when you're managing a lot, you have to make a lot of decisions really quickly, and that can be very difficult, and it's something you have to learn how to do. So for example, you can be in a fight and you can hear players, and you can all of a sudden look down and realize your buffs are about to go out, right? And I'm focusing mainly on solo with this scenario, is that in a solo, in the Goblin Caves, or even if you're doing 1v3s, you have to make sure to manage your buffs really well. Because if you don't, and a player rolls up on you, you have nothing else going for you. You know, you don't have good health, you don't have good movement speed, you don't have good attack power, and so you need those buffs to make yourself even viable. And so that goes into the role of the class, which is kind of the next point, is that the role of the Bard class is applying buffs and debuffs to your team, to the enemy teams, and debuffs to the enemy team, sorry, and debuffs to AI to help lead your team, help you succeed in the dungeon and ultimately escape, like the goal of the game. And the best way to do that is you got to know your situation, you got to know which spells to take, you have to know what the best combos are, you have to have good decision making in order to do it well. And so that's why I think the Bard class is extremely fun. I personally like a challenge, and that's why I started playing the Bard class. The Bard class is very strong. Okay, the people are right when they say the Bard class is strong. It absolutely is, but it does come with its fair share of difficulties, which I think is good, and I think it's kind of a trade-off. And I think that's actually what, in a way, kind of nerfs it, is when you do run into a Bard, if they're not good, they actually aren't that big of a threat, but if they are good, they're a huge threat, which is, it's hard to tell sometimes. So the rest of the videos I'm going to be going over all this stuff in depth. I'm going to go over, hopefully I'm going to hit most of the aspects of all the different classes. Sorry, not all the different classes, all this class's different aspects. And keep in mind when you're watching these videos, I like to be an aggressive player. I'm more aggressive, and I'm a less, that's just how I like to play. I don't like to sit in the back. I don't like to, unless I'm playing with trios and that's my role, you know, because that's definitely sometimes it. But even in trios, once all the buffs are cast, you know, I go in and I assist in fighting, which is fun. And I think honestly, that's how I prefer to play the Bard. It's definitely fun to sit in the back and keep slinging spells and songs, and but it's really fun to get in there too. And so solo, I often tend to be more aggressive, and even in HR, you know, you can with this class you can confidently take on most classes if you really know how to play right. So hopefully I do it justice. If you guys have anything specific that you guys want to go over, you can let me know if I'm missing anything, but I'm gonna try to just keep releasing videos on just different aspects of the Bard class, and some of the things that I already have planned to make videos over are loadout choices and options, which includes like prepping for the dungeon itself, and then spells. So pretty much everything that has to do with spells, like what spells to choose, how to cast certain spells, and just describing and clarifying some questions that there might be about spells, stats and what's important about them, different how stats apply to the Bard and how it affects gameplay, situation management, so managing PvE, managing spells to set yourself up for a really good, just set yourself up in a beneficial way. PvP analysis, so just breaking down different PvP situations and trying to help people understand how to gauge their target, gauge your own situation, and initiating also versus reacting to if someone initiates against you. So those are what I kind of have planned. Feel free to leave in the comments just suggestions for other videos that you might want to see. I plan to do a lot. Those are just what I have right now. So I hope you guys enjoy. Just be looking out for the next video. Maybe you guys can even recommend which video you'd like to see next most.